here's the thing. It would be wonderful if we did not need to supplement, but unless you're eating foods from remineralized soil all the time, then you're probably not getting the nutrients that you need because, as we talked about, we're dealing with topsoil erosion all over the planet and farming practices that don't rejuvenate the soil. So for most people, I would recommend a multivitamin. Multivitamins, there's not a one size fits all for them. Some people have gene mutations that they need to have certain forms of different vitamins that would require them to have a different kind of a multivitamin. So this is where, working with a practitioner to really figure out and dial in what the best multivitamin for you would be. Calming herbs, we talked about some of them when we were talking about the things that help increase GABA production. Some of the more common calming herbs are passionflower, hops, valerian, L-theanine. These can be really, really great for you, but again, it's a trial and error thing. For example, I know a lot of people who don't do well on L-theanine, and some people absolutely love it. So you also want to be careful if you're taking any antidepressants, because there can be an interaction between some drugs and different herbs. So you have to be careful when you're supplementing with herbs and make sure that you're doing the right thing. Melatonin we talked about earlier. So melatonin, a lot of people take it to help them with sleep, but the issue is that melatonin is not going to help you stay asleep. Melatonin is going to cue your body that you need to fall asleep. So melatonin is really good for older people who aren't producing as much melatonin, or people who have a dysregulated circadian rhythm, or people who have been traveling and who are experiencing jet lag. Melatonin is really great for that. And like I said before, you need to take melatonin a few hours before you go to bed, not right when you're trying to have your head hit the pillow. And also with melatonin, most people are taking way, way too much. So you need to really start low and slow with melatonin. Vitamin D is, we talked about vitamin D if you were on the Q&A yesterday. Vitamin D is really, really crucial to your health. One of the colleagues that I follow is a woman named Dr. Stasha Gomanak, and she's done a lot of research on vitamin D and sleep. And there's a correlation between having optimized levels of vitamin D and the quality of sleep that you experience. Personally, when I was healing my own health, I had low vitamin D levels, and I started optimizing my vitamin D, and I was getting blood work done at a regular basis. So I was titrating up slowly, and I didn't have any expectation about it whatsoever. But when my vitamin D level hit 60, which is the low level of what Dr. Gomanak says is the optimized level, 60 to 80, my sleep came back online. And it was actually kind of miraculous how much it corresponded with getting it to that level. You do want to take vitamin D3. You don't want to supplement with vitamin D2. It doesn't, it's not as easily bioavailable by the body. So make sure that if you are supplementing with vitamin D, you're supplementing with vitamin D3. For people who have cardiovascular challenges, I would also recommend adding vitamin K to that as well. And then magnesium. Magnesium is required for over 200 functions in the body, and most people, especially people that have chronic stress, are magnesium deficient. So making sure that you're getting enough magnesium. There's many different kinds of magnesium, and if you guys want, you can get on my email list by going to my website. I'll give you the information in a little bit, but I have a magnesium guide. It breaks down the different types of magnesium so that you can make sure that you're getting the right one for your unique health challenges. The most common form of magnesium is magnesium citrate. That's great if you're having issues with constipation, but if you're not, then it can cause loose stools and can actually make you really uncomfortable. So other forms of magnesium, like magnesium glycinate or magnesium threonate, might be a better fit for you. Reducing stress. The light diet and reducing stress, I think, are the two greatest things that you can do for your health. They're all important. It's hard to pick a favorite, but reducing stress is really key. So in order to reduce stress, because the world isn't going to stop spinning around us, we really have to make a conscious, consistent daily choice to have different habits and to do things differently. There is a really fantastic book that I read on breathing, and I can't remember the name right now, but it's a fantastic, fantastic book on breathing. And one of the things that it talks about is how not breathing through your nose is basically linked to all sorts of health challenges. So this is especially relevant to people who are breathing through their mouths at night. Also, if you breathe through your mouth, it's more likely to cause your body to be in a sympathetic dominant state, whereas breathing through your nose is going to allow you to be in a restful and relaxed state. So one thing that you can try for, I think it's just called Breath, the book, but I'm not sure. One thing that you can try at night is mouth taping. And this is something that a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? But it's pretty simple. You just put a small strip of any kind of tape. You can use Scotch tape. You can use, cloth medical tape across your mouth. And then you sleep with it throughout the night. And if you are having any times in the night when you're sleeping deeply and you're not aware that your mouth is open, this will prevent you from doing that and allow you to breathe through your nose. During the daytime, if you are experiencing stress or anxiety, one of the most simple techniques is to do box breathing. And box breathing is a way to just regulate your intake and outtake of breath. Basically, if you think of the breath like a box, you would inhale for 4 seconds. You would pause for 4 seconds and hold your breath. You would exhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath out, and then inhale for 4 seconds and repeat that cycle over and over. And you could do that for 1 or 2 minutes, and it would really calm your nervous system down. There's variations to this. Basically, what you want to do in order to calm your nervous system down is to make sure that your exhales are longer than your inhales. Taking midday breaks, we already covered that. Really, I can't stress it enough. Avoiding conflict, particularly in the evening. This is another piece of information that I came across recently, which I find also fascinating. Because of the way that the circadian rhythm works, we are more adept at handling stress in our lives earlier in the day than we are in the evening. So not only does it negatively impact your sleep to have stressful conversations or to be doing stressful work later in the day, but we are physiologically not as capable of handling those stressors in the evening. So, if you are in a dysfunctional relationship, if you are dealing with stress at home, really doing what you can to avoid difficult conversations in the evening. There's the saying, never go to bed angry. And I actually completely disagree with that, because in the evening, we really just don't have the capacity to think clearly and to process our thoughts and our emotions well. It's much better to sleep on it and to wake up and to go at it in the morning with a fresh mind and a fresh heart. Seeking happiness rather than pleasure. So pleasure is the neurochemical or the neurotransmitter that we associate with dopamine, whereas happiness is the chemical that we attribute to serotonin. And there's a real interesting difference between the two of those. So serotonin is something that allows us to feel happy, whereas dopamine is something that is associated with all of the addictions that we have, because when you get a dopamine hit, you want more of that. And over time, it can actually fry out your neurotransmitter receptors and kind of destroy those receptor sites and those neurons. And so, and the only thing that decreases serotonin is dopamine. So in general, in your life, you really want to look at things that bring you happiness rather than things that are due to pleasure-seeking behavior. And then there's lots of stress-reducing aids that you can use to help you feel better and sleep better. This is one of them that is very popular these days. It's called the Apollo. It's basically, they describe it as a hug for your nervous system, and it has frequencies that pulse. You wear it on your wrist or on your ankle, and it has different frequencies that send calming, pulsing sensations, or stimulating if you need to focus and get work done. Another aid that I really, really love is an app called BrainTap. BrainTap is an app that uses binaural beats along with these really beautifully recorded, inspiring dialogues, I guess you would say, that just help calm your nervous system down. And this is great for people who say that they've tried meditation and they can't meditate. And I want to just say that if you're in a chronically stressed state, you might not be able to meditate, and there's no shame in that. It's really about just understanding where you're at, where your nervous system is at, and meeting it where it's at. So BrainTap is a wonderful way because it kind of does the meditation for you, and you just can sit back and relax, and it will help your brain shift into a parasympathetic state. And I just quickly want to say, I know we're running on time, but I just want to quickly talk about sleep for children. So children need more sleep than adults. It is absolutely crucial for essential healthy growth and development. We have a huge issue of sleep deprivation, especially in children, because of the use of screens and technology. There's a misunderstood aspect for teens. So teens have sleep latency in that they naturally get tired later at night than adults or children, and then naturally wake up later. And a lot of people have said that teens are, jumped to the conclusion that teens are lazy, and this is not the case at all. It's a natural part of their maturity, of their evolution, and it's something that should be honored, because there is such a huge, sadly, coincidence between teenagers and suicide rates and sleep deprivation. So if you know a teenager, if you have a teenager, doing your absolute best to support them to be able to have that natural sleep schedule and sleep in. Asking a teenager to wake up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning is like asking an adult to wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning. It's really, really hard for them. Caregiver sleep tips. I just want to mention this really quickly because I did this dementia lecture. For anyone who's dealing with caregiving, sleep is even more important and even more of a challenge, especially if you are caring for someone as either a young parent or as a caregiver of an elderly family member, and you're having to wake up in the night to care for them. So it's really important to be self-full and to prioritize your own wellness. There's that saying that, you put your mask on first in the airplane before you put on your child's mask. This is absolutely true. Self-care is not selfish. Get stress when you need it. Really hone in on how you can create part of your daily routine to integrate ways to de-stress and figuring out what works best for you, and really learning to recognize the signs of trauma. Trauma is basically defined as anything that causes you to feel overwhelmed and out of control. So there's this kind of trauma has like some negative I can't think of the word, but like allocations to it. And that's not necessarily the case. I think it's really important to normalize the experience of trauma, especially for caregivers, and to get help when you're experiencing trauma. Because when you're in trauma, you're in a sympathetic dominant state and you're not going to sleep well. And if we have time, I would open the chat up to you guys to ask you one thing that you can to reflect on this. What's one thing that you think you can start doing tonight to improve your sleep? And what's one thing that you can do to be more self-full? If we don't have the time, then I would just really recommend that you take a minute after we end this this talk and reflect on that, because sleep is something, it doesn't get really poor overnight, and it also doesn't get better overnight, but it's the baby steps. It's every little thing that you can do that will help turn your sleep around. And thank you. And if you want to go to SuzieSenk.com, you can sign up for my mailing list to get free sleep tips, that magnesium guide, and a resource list with coupons to some of the things that we've talked about that will help you with your sleep.
Thank you so much, Suzie. Really appreciate that. So a lot of great information. And if you want, we can have people, we can go ahead with the Q&A, and then we can have people put in to ask those 2 questions. I don't know if you want to pop that screen back up with those 2 questions, and they can just put it in the chat. And if you want to kind of peek over there, you can, and we'll just go on with the Q&A.
Yeah, I think that given the time, I would just say let's let them reflect on that on their own time, so that we have time for the questions that people have.
So first, so last night we had a panel where we had a vitamin D expert, and you were thoroughly enjoying yourself learning all about vitamin D. And I wanted to see if there was anything in regards to sleep that you learned from talking to Dr. William Grant about vitamin D and its impact on sleep.
Well, I actually emailed him after the our Q&A, because I had several other questions for him. And I think one of the things that I'm waiting for a response is whether the optimal level that he mentioned, the 29 or 30, is impacted by the test group that was used. In other words, if we were to look at people who have more of an agrarian lifestyle, who are more less modernized, whether that would also be the case for what their average vitamin D level is.